The gym and sports in general are not about working off food or torturing oneself. They are an expression of love and care for oneself.
If I go to the gym and exercise very actively, my appetite is very big, I think definitely more.
But by increasing muscle mass, we achieve that same desired shape, which we then keep and use as our screensaver.
Yes, there's this instilled fear that eating potatoes is not desirable, or that constantly eating oatmeal is not desirable. Something else too.
These are already increased risks, increased load. Yeah? This may not really be about health anymore.
This all adds resources for life, for mood, for new actions, and so I don't even know how it was possible to live like that before.
Yeah, during the first month, it is quite possible to see results if you work comprehensively.
So everyone should have some goal, probably a goal, a dream.
Yes.
Achievements both in sports and everything else, and then there will be results. Hello to all our dear viewers. Summer is coming, such a beautiful time of year, and we decided to record a podcast for you to be beautiful and healthy this summer of 2023. And today we have a guest at Yuzko Studios. We thank Yuzko Studios for the opportunity to film these podcasts. A great, good, kind, professional person. And this is fitness trainer Kateryna.
Hello everyone, my name is Kateryna. I am a fitness trainer. I train people in the gym, adjust their nutrition, and try to help establish habits that work for them.
It's true, and I want to thank you personally because Kateryna is also my fitness trainer. I've been training for probably more than a year, and I can say that you are not just a trainer. You are someone who influences and adjusts life. And your goal is not just to train, but to make people want to change their life, eat well, understand why it's important to eat well, and feel like going to workouts, which is very important.
I am very glad to hear that. My goal is truly to make people understand that the gym and sports in general are not about working off food or a way to punish oneself. It's a manifestation of love and care for oneself. So I wish everyone would think this way and want to go to their training.
I have the first question like this. We all had physical education in our lives, and it was always conducted in a way that made us think, how can I get a note to avoid going? Or it was some kind of real torment. Or maybe they didn't really want to tell us this, but now people are aware. They pay money to go to the gym to train and to get in good shape. Why such a difference? Back then in school, we didn't want to, but now everyone wants to go to a fitness trainer.
I believe that it's about awareness, about increasing understanding of why this is important, awareness of the value of these workouts, and what they can give to a person, that it's not just a pastime, but something from which they gain well-being, a good appearance, and so on.
Understood. Then a question. How many of these workouts should there be? And do we need a lot of these workouts, or do they... someone says 4 times a week is needed. Someone says 5 times a week. And someone says to be slim, one must train every day. How much does a person actually need to train from a trainer's perspective?
Here you need to start from the person's lifestyle as a whole. For example, if it's an office worker who sits at a desk from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening and doesn't have much activity, I don't see anything wrong with finding time for some training every day. Of course, it won't be some overly intense weight training every day. Radena Risina. But you can come after work, walk on the treadmill, for example, just to have some movement. And that will already be a plus. But if a person has a physically active job, then their activity in the gym can be a bit lower.
Tetiana Mironenko, and how much lower is that, for example, an optimal workout per week?
Radena Risina, well, I would recommend visiting the gym at least 3 times if it's a strength training. Also find time for cardio training and stretching to stretch and relax and recover on some days.
Tetiana Mironenko, tell us a bit more, because our viewers are diverse. Not all of them may be as knowledgeable as you in this. What is the difference between these workouts and how can they be combined?
Radina Rysina, well, for example, if a person is limited on time and can't afford to come every single day to do strength, stretching, and cardio, they can combine them and at least come 3 times a week. For instance, spend an hour on strength exercises, dedicate 20 minutes to cardio training, and then stretch at the end.
And this will very positively affect her health and well-being and appearance as a bonus.
Tetiana Mironenko, yes. And why do you say that appearance is like a bonus? Why? Because many come only for the appearance. That's probably the first thing that motivates most people to come to the gym. It's the image.
Radina Rysina, I don't judge. I completely understand why, but such motivation may not last long. If a person understands the value of training specifically for their health and feels how their well-being changes, they will already perceive external changes as an addition. And the main value is, of course, health.
Tetiana Mironenko, if the value is health, then you prepare some special program for the person. So, for example, a person comes, you ask about their illnesses, something like that. How do you approach giving this person workouts that ensure health and additionally, as a bonus, a good body?
Radina Rysina, the first training session with any good coach, Yaku should always start with collecting a kind of anamnesis, you might say, asking about any past injuries, any past or current illnesses. Has the person consulted a doctor, perhaps? Did the doctor allow them to train and at what intensity? And based on this data, each trainer will build a program individually for each person, because we are all different.
Tetiana Mironenko, understood. And what program, for example, do you use most often to really, for an average girl?
Radina Rysina, we always start all workouts with the full body system, working on all muscles in one session. And over time, when we are more prepared, we can separate training days and muscle groups individually. But again, this is very individual. Everyone will have their own request. For example, if someone comes with a request like, I want, for example, a strong back, then we will focus more attention on the back muscles.
Tetiana Mironenko, what if I want to lose weight?
Radina Rysina, well, very often for some reason training is equated with weight loss.
Tetiana Mironenko, very.
Radina Rysina, but in reality weight loss is always about the calorie deficit that we consume. That is, our task is to expend more than we consume.
Tetiana Mironenko, once again, focus, spend more than you consume. That means your activity for the day should exceed what you've eaten.
Radina Rysina, yes, but some workouts, well, they will be, of course, it's great to add workouts, but they may not bring the expected result, and they definitely won't if you don't adjust your diet.
Radina Rysina. But you know, in the modern world, looking at it again, the picture shows us that they are so beautiful, all slim, so muscular, lean. They go to the gym, they train very well, and it gives results. And it seems that if I went to the gym and go 3 times, and we said at the beginning how many times you need to go, there's cardio and everything. If I go that many times, then I'll have a body like that.
Veronika Bodnar, yes, unfortunately, this myth is still present. But it's a misleading, deceptive stereotype that if I go to the gym, I will immediately lose weight. You go to the gym, you increase the amount of energy you expend, and the body gets a signal to somehow compensate for it. That is, your appetite relative to your new activity will increase and you'll want to eat more. Thus, you compensate or possibly even start overeating more than before.
Radina Rysina, is that true?
Veronika Bodnar. Well, I see that, yes.
Radina Rysina, really? I can say for myself, if I go to the gym and work out very actively, my appetite is very big. It seems to me, definitely more.
Veronika Bodnar. Well, appetite is normal for a healthy person. It's normal to have a good appetite, but if we're talking about weight loss, unfortunately, it can backfire. Adding workouts without revising your diet won't work.
Kateryna Shchepanska. And do you see these people? Veronica Bodnar, every day.
Veronica Bodnar. Yes, you also see these people.
Radena Racina. I just don't focus on that much.
But note that many people will go to the gym for years, but they won't change externally because they will think, I came to the gym, I worked so hard, and we always tend to exaggerate our efforts. And the person thinks, I can allow myself a little more, but
Radena Racina. But everyone thinks that since I went, I took that step, I walked there for an hour. I did something for an hour. That's it. It means that's all.
Veronica Bodnar. In fact, it's 300 calories, which, well, can be very easily replaced and overeaten.
Radena Racina. And 300 calories is if you trained very well in the gym.
Veronica Bodnar. Yes, you've seen it. You've seen for yourself how many calories you burn during a strength workout. So the...
Radena Racina. And how many calories should be burned during a strength workout?
Veronica Bodnar. There is no such understanding. You should not perceive strength training as a means to burn calories at all. This is, well, a misconception from the start. It should be viewed as an activity necessary for the body because our body was created to perform some kind of movement, not to sit in an office. Therefore, approaching it solely from the perspective of calorie loss is just incorrect. I do not support that.
Radena Racina. In general, you need to watch, right?
Veronica Bodnar. Yes, yeah.
Radena Racina. And if your recommendation is indeed that if a person reviews everything comprehensively, then they have a positive result. Radena Racina. And they review, having come to the gym, you tell this. Review. What proportion of people actually listen and understand that the gym is not the only thing that gives results?
Veronica Bodnar. Actually, I tell every girl and every client the same thing I tell you. I explain that it's important not just that you train, but also how you live your life outside the gym, how you eat, what habits you have, and what your everyday activity is like. Bosha and at first, maybe the person doesn't perceive it the way I'd like right away. I would explain everything, and the person would follow everything step by step. This happens once in a blue moon, approximately. Usually she trains and then doesn't see results. Then I ask what's going on. I say, you need to reassess. Sandra Smushelo, overall, your diet and then changes will definitely come. And there has not been a single case where with the review of the diet, having meals and perhaps a bit of lifestyle modification, a person didn't achieve what they were aiming for. But well, it all takes time. Some need more time, some less. And that's okay.
Tetiana Mironenko, and how do you look at the fact that they say snowdrops are appearing in the gym now? These are people who prepare for summer and think, I'll quickly go to the gym, work out for 2 weeks, a month, and I'll be ready for summer. Are there such people, and do they hope for quick results?
Sandra Smushelo? But most people hope for quick results. Well, to be honest, we always want to get something as easily as possible. But a good shape and overall well-being is something you have to work for, and doing it in 1 or 2 months, well, improving it somehow is possible. But we can only maintain that result if a person reassesses their values, understands that training is important to keep as a part of their life, not just as preparation for summer. Then there will be a good shape all year, not just before the season.
Tetiana Mironenko. Those are golden words when you reassess your values and your life.
And here is the next question. Sometimes people, many of them, do not want to go to the gym. They are tired, they have some other work, and they force themselves to go to the gym. And some go very happily to the gym. And it seems to me, if you reassess the value, to consider the gym not as a compulsion, but as a part of your life.
Tetiana Mironenko. A healthy life, then probably you want to go there.
Sandra Smushelo. Well, I think there are no people who always want to go to the gym. Well, I don't always want to go to the gym. Obviously, lying on the couch at the moment is more pleasant than going to lift those dumbbells. Perhaps, but when you realize the profit you gain, well, the question goes away. You just go and do it. And during the process, you gain that energy that maybe wasn't there at first. Because energy, I believe, is always given for some action. And, well, it's a closed loop that you just have to accept and follow your good habits.
Tetiana Mironenko, exactly. And how much time is needed for the body to be healthy and ready for the summer? How much training is required?
Sandra Smushela, well, everyone will have their own point. If we take a girl who just wants to slightly improve her shape and a person who has been doing nothing but eating in front of the TV every evening for 10 years and doesn't even take walks, these will be two different people. I can't tell you exactly. Everyone is very individual, and based on that, you need to plan a training schedule, diet, and so on.
Tetiana Mironenko, well, for example, both people, how much time roughly, so we understand, so people understand that it's not an instant action or a monthly program. How much time, as you see it as a coach, is needed for a person to actually see results if they are working on it overall?
Sandra Smushelo. So a month is already, well, a minimal shift. In terms of form, it will be, well, even if it's someone with excessive significant weight, losing 5 kilograms for such a person, and for a girl who weighs only 50 kilograms, well, these will be different 5 kilograms. So in the first month, it's quite possible to see results if you work comprehensively. Yes.
Tetiana Mironenko, in the first month.
Sandra Smushelo, yes. The first results will definitely be visible in a month.
Tetiana Mironenko, if we continue further.
Sandra Smushelo, then each time it will be better.
Tetiana Mironenko, and if not?
Male voice too, unfortunately. Form is not something you achieve once and then it's with you for life. No, you reach it and you need to maintain it. You need to improve it. It's not something you achieve once and have for a lifetime. So yes, you will have to work on this all your life and not build any illusions that I will just go to the gym for 2 months and that's it, and stop there.
Woman 1, understood. Tell us more about why we fixate, even in many motivational books. Everyone says that the number on the scale should be 45, 55, 65. I want to achieve such a weight for myself. Why is it such a misguided decision? Why focus on the number on the scale?
Bill was told that Beatrice also masik skula koam hatja. I think these are echoes of those pages, 40 kilograms less up when there were still someone we contact, where there were photos of such skinny, even unhealthily skinny girls.
And this upsets me a lot, because a person is not thinking about how they will look, but only about the number they will see, because the desired weight does not always equal the desired reflection in the mirror. For example, at 60 kilograms, I looked very different at various times. You can weigh 60 kilograms and have a high percentage of muscle and a low percentage of fat, or the opposite. Focusing on a number is just unreasonable for yourself. It is not informative at all. I recommend tracking progress through photos, taking them yourself. Well, if you are at the beginning of your journey, some kind of baseline photo can help you track progress. Because in reality, the most important thing is whether you like yourself in the mirror. Can you wear a dress that you like rather than just hiding some flaws? The main focus should be on this rather than seeing 50 kilograms.
Woman 1, and what if you weigh yourself constantly?
Meal, voice 2. I am against weighing more often than once a month because, for example, if it's a woman, you understand what fluctuations we can have depending only on the day of the cycle. But we can get upset, and in this way, sabotage everything we have done so far, devalue all our efforts because we saw an extra kilogram before the cycle. And if I hadn't seen it and I encountered this all the time, well, I wouldn't be so adamant. It's just...
Woman 1, and people to you. Woman 1, do they come and tell you?
Woman 1, that much right?
Guy's voice 2, every day. Well, not every day, but yes, I have clients who are like, today I weighed myself and I gained 600 grams. Yeah, well, send out. Guy's voice 2.
and explain to the person. Email voice too. And I try every time to convey that this number doesn't say anything about you. The reflection in the mirror. How you feel, yes, but the number on the scale is secondary.
Woman 1 and volumes, they
Boys voice too. Definitely measurements. It's great to take measurements. A measuring tape, it will show your results better than the scale.
Woman 1. And you know what else is great? If you can always fit into your clothes, that's really great too.
Male voice too. Yes, these are your things. They can also be an indicator if your clothes start fitting better. Maybe you managed to fit into your old jeans or had a dress you wanted to buy for a while, but your shape didn't allow it. Well, that's great.
Woman 1, I see. And are there those who come to lose weight and others who come to gain weight?
Solomia Solozovska, finally, yes, now it is so. Now I even noticed that it increased. People already know more that weight is not the main indicator. The main indicator is shape, and shape is achieved. A beautiful form is always increased muscle mass. When we have a good percentage of muscle mass, we have a toned body, and people understanding this come to strength training and understand that they need to build. They need to build well to look good and consequently feel great.
Tetiana Mironenko, so to gain weight for it to be muscles?
Solomia Solozovska, definitely, yes. Well, we maintain a healthy percentage of fat. Fat is not bad, definitely. We maintain a healthy percentage of fat. But with the increase in muscle mass, we achieve that desired shape that we save and use as our wallpaper.
Tetiana Mironenko, I see. And there are now both girls and boys who want I see faster.
Solomia Solozovska. Yes. Already, yes. At first there were fewer, but now I've noticed that the number has increased.
Tetiana Mironenko, we all look at different images, and I also watched one fitness trainer who talked about the difference, and I wrote to her that I had just started with you, even before I started working out with you. And she said such a phrase to me that yes, you need to train a lot and you need to eat a lot. And she wrote there's something about 2,500 kilocalories. You need to eat a lot. And I thought, how can you eat a lot? If I eat a lot, it means I will gain a lot of weight and I will be unattractive, large and obese. Please dispel this myth. And generally, how do you recommend eating? And why did this trainer say to eat a lot and not just a little?
Solomia Solozovska. The trainer was very right because gaining muscle mass is actually quite difficult. You need to eat, so 2,500 would be normal to start gaining, and it has to be a quality gain. That is, it would mostly come from an increase in carbohydrates. These are large portions of porridge, ideally.
Tetiana Mironenko, very scary for some.
Solomia Solozovska, yes, it's scary because we still have that diet mentality. These are the remnants of the past, as I call them. The fear of large plates. But we are already adults. We need to eat adult-sized portions, especially if we want to gain weight. We train hard. So yes, we need to compensate for this and be in a surplus. A surplus is an excess of calories that the body needs to use to increase muscle mass. That's right.
Tetiana Mironenko, oh, you're saying such things. Imagine increasing calories is necessary. That is, to have this muscle framework, you need to increase calorie intake.
Solomia Solozovska, actually, you need to eat a lot if your goal is to gain muscle. It's a very energy-consuming process for the body, and for it to occur at all, the body needs to understand that it is in such a surplus that it can afford it, because muscle tissue itself is very energy-consuming. And even if you are not gaining muscle mass, but already have muscles and want to maintain them, you can allow yourself more, because it all requires fuel. That's very true.
Tetiana Mironenko, and what should the fuel be? I mean, if we understand that we're training, gaining mass, so that it's not fat, but a muscle framework, what should this fuel be?
Solomia Solozovska, it should be a high carbohydrate diet. And in general, if you look at the World Health Organization's recommendations, carbohydrates should play
should make up half, even up to 60% of our diet, Radena ricina, and you should prefer complex ones, such as grains, whole grain bread, pasta, and the like. Then approximately 30% we allocate to fats and 20 to proteins, because then we can talk about quality intake, good well-being, and lack of hunger. Because this ratio will allow us to comfortably move towards our goal.
What percentage for proteins?
Radena ricina, yes, 20.
20.
That means 20% for proteins. Understood. And if you consider this, when a person comes to you, do you adjust it somehow? Like, do you recommend how many kilocalories for them if they want to decrease or increase? Or this much, the balance of proteins, fats, carbohydrates in the diet? Do you provide such a recommendation?
Radena ricina, yes, I try to explain to people so that they understand food. Because when understanding comes, a person is no longer as afraid.
Eat.
Radena ricina, yes. Because many people have this fear of food.
I also had it present.
Radena ricina, I remember, yes.
When I heard that you need to eat porridge and such an amount of kilocalories and so much of everything, it really seemed to me that it was just excess weight, that it's not no result, just excess weight.
Radena ricina, and do you remember your experience, the experiment, right? You started eating more, and as a result, did you gain weight?
No, I didn't gain.
Radena ricina, no, you did not gain weight. Because a proper distribution of your calories and understanding what and why you are eating allows you to simply move towards your goal and not gain what you wouldn't want.
Yes. So what recommendations do you provide, for example, to a person who wants to gain or lose weight? Well, on average.
Radena ricina kuppo, usually I suggest that people start working with their plate first, not to figure out everything in general, because that requires quite a bit of depth. Not everyone has the time or desire for that. A long time ago, scientists concluded that the most effective and correct nutrition is based on the Harvard plate, which suggests half the plate should be vegetables, 1/4 protein, and 1/4 whole grains, cereals, bread, and so on.
And ideally each meal.
Radena ricina, well, each meal ideally would be good to structure according to this principle. It's understood that our life doesn't always work out so that we can create the perfect plate. But if a person establishes a routine diet as a base, then some exceptions won't worsen their shape or results.
And everything is probably individual after all. Each person still chooses something for themselves that they want.
Radena ricina? Well, yes, actually, we are all individuals, and some will be comfortable eating 3 times, others 4. It's more about comfort.
Here I have another question about eating proteins instead of carbohydrates at night, in the evening, the last meal, so to speak. What do you think about that?
Radena ricina, yes, I believe it would be good to have all nutrients in every meal. That means proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vegetables should be present in every meal. This is the ideal picture. As for the proportions, maybe in the evening those carbohydrates could be eaten less, but I think they should still be present. Then we provide ourselves with all the nutrients, and the feeling of fullness will last longer than if it were just, I know, you like just protein and vegetables, right? But I believe we need carbohydrates.
They are very necessary and needed. Everything is very individual. And if a person has any specific needs or wants to hear from a doctor, they can consult a doctor, perhaps an endocrinologist, a nutritionist, and then a more detailed diet can be tailored directly for that person.
Radena ricina, definitely.
Because we are now speaking more from the fitness side, yes.
Radena ricina, yes, which do not have
Yes.
perhaps hormonal disruptions and the like that way. So for a healthy person, it would be great to have complex carbohydrates in every meal.
Yes, I think so too. And the main thing is not to be afraid of carbohydrates. There's nothing wrong with them. But I say there's some kind of fear instilled that eating potatoes is undesirable, that constantly eating oatmeal is undesirable, and so on. So from a health perspective, these products are needed in our diet.
Yes, of course, in general, being afraid of a certain product is not healthy. We need to understand that food is just food. It is not something bad or good. It's just food from which we get a bit more nutrients. That is, food is not only calories, it's also the vitamins we get, minerals.
Yes.
Yes. So if you approach it from this angle, there is food that is more nutritionally valuable and less nutritionally valuable. But dividing food into good and bad, well, it's not very wise.
And as a coach, what do you say if someone eats a pastry?
There's something sweet there, I say. Get enjoyment from that pastry, because I believe that food is also about pleasure. Why not? If your entire diet is built healthily, built rationally, then a pastry, well, it won't harm you, but rather help you get that relief and some good emotions. If it's a pastry over coffee with a friend,
I only see a plus.
And if a person, for example, knows they will have a celebration, Easter, or some other holiday, and they know they will be sitting at the table, there will be an increased number of people, food, and everything else. They can physically calculate and think, today in the morning, I will eat a little less at lunch because my dinner will be heavier. Is this the right approach?
Honestly, I wouldn't do that. I understand what you're saying. And some of my clients were even forced to not eat all day because they were going to a birthday party in the evening. Is that healthy? Well, no.
Do you think it's unhealthy?
Unhealthy? No, it makes sense. Imagine you restricted yourself all day and in the evening you arrived and there's such a variety in front of you. Well, you'll overeat.
Yes, it's better.
Because the person came hungry.
she came hungry, she hadn't eaten all day, and she will eat more than if she had planned her meals well throughout the day. She would have had breakfast, had lunch, and gone to visit in the evening.
She wouldn't gobble up half the table. She would try some dish that interested her. She would feel full and satisfied, and that would be it. But as it is, she will most likely overeat.
Her conscience will torment her because, well, if she brought herself to this point, it means she is probably quite fixated on these restrictions. Nothing good typically comes from that.
Many people come who are very fixated on weight. Not just on gaining mass, but they are fixated on weight. They want it exactly that way. A lot of people are like that. Perhaps they are even more fixated than one would like. But, well, I wouldn't say it's every other person, thank God.
No, actually, if we talk about my experience, I mostly get lucky with people. More aware individuals come to me, so no, I manage to influence them somehow. It's not like there's just that much and that's it.
Yes, we try to fight it if it manifests somewhere, somehow.
I see. And these charts, the calorie table and any others, there are now many apps that distribute how much of what. If you help people enter this app, how much time should they use it?
It's a great option for understanding food. When we reach the plate stage, when a person already understands how the plate should generally look, it would be nice somewhere, well, maybe count for up to a month.
Weight grams heavy. Perhaps a week. Because in fact, this is such a period of discoveries for oneself.
Very.
Yes, a person didn't even imagine that there are so many calories in that small packet of nuts. For example, she was sincerely convinced that she was eating almost nothing, but for some reason was gaining weight, and that period of counting opens the eyes a little.
It really opens your eyes, not just a little, but a lot.
It allows us to judge more objectively about what we are going to eat. But introducing this habit as something to make a part of your life, I wouldn't recommend it. Because it is still unhealthy behavior for a person. It is not characteristic for us to always count what we eat. I am against constant use, but I support having such an experience, at least for some period.
Maybe it will become a habit. The person will already understand why. If for a long period of time you understand what this product entails, and you can already visually estimate that's 40 grams, that's 50, and that's 100. And if at first this program is needed for this understanding, to open one's eyes to the overall diet, then later the person already understands on their own what they need to eat, how many combinations, and how. And when I started keeping this table with you at the beginning, I was surprised that I had a predominance of fats. I didn't understand why in every meal plan there was a red circle for fats, and only now when I eat properly, they are not predominant.
This is a very common mistake. We always, well, not always, but most people overeat fats and don't eat enough carbohydrates and proteins. And it's very hard to notice this without counting, because fats are actually very inconspicuous and you could say a bit sneaky, as they hide in foods where you wouldn't really expect to see them. But this calculation will allow you to directly monitor this moment and look at some products differently, possibly reduce their amount, maybe increase the amount of another product to achieve that satiety instead. And it works.
And sugar, because now there are whole podcasts saying no sugar, sugar should not be there at all. What will you say about sugar?
I will say that in general, being afraid of something is somewhat ungrateful, in my opinion, towards one's life, because it's like a panicked avoidance.
Panic.
Well, yeah, something. Well, why? If you can simply allow yourself in moderation to occasionally have those pastries, for example.
From time to time.
Well, definitely, if you eat, half of your diet consisting of simple carbohydrates every day, it won't end well, firstly for your health, but some part in the diet can be that way. I don't exclude and don't force my clients not to eat sweets.
But now there are healthy sweets, now there is fruit, you can eat everything. So now there is an alternative to it. You don't have to drink tea with sugar, right?
Yes, but there are moments when you want medovic, you don't want to eat sweets, you want a specific one, like the medovic your mother once made for you, and you have an association with this food about some good period of your life, for example.
And if you want it, you should allow yourself. You should. A person becomes happy when they allow themselves this. And also, the most important thing I wanted to say, you know what? When healthy eating happens and a person understands their plate, their calorie intake, they get used to it. You just need to start doing it for it to become a habit. Then all the products seem cool to her, Marina Bahinska. And if there is no sugar all the time, then all the products seem cool. This tomato is so sweet. Marina Bahinska. This shrimp is so good. And if you don't add any salt to it, the product's true value seems incredible. You can only understand this when you give up extra sauces, extra seasoning, extra sugar, then you truly appreciate its taste.
Lilia Kokolenko. Uskriya Kateryna Shchepanska. Yes, our taste receptors are very spoiled now with all these additives, and when you start eating such simple food, at first it may seem a bit bland. But actually it's a matter of habit. We are just used to something else, and you need to give yourself a little time to readjust. That's all. And then you appreciate that pastry more when you don't eat it 3 times a day. Its value in your eyes and the satisfaction you get will be greater than if it were something mundane, for example.
Marina Bahinska, understood. As a coach, there are people who follow all these recommendations we've mentioned, and there are those who don't. Some people go and wait for results while others don't. There are people who don't see results and say it's not worth going to training because it doesn't help.
Lilia Kokolenko. Well, in my experience, there haven't been such people yet.
Lilia Kokolenko, well, actually, it's not so much about awareness. You just come, you train, you already get into it. You like that release, those hormones. Such a feeling.
Marina Bahinska, pride perhaps for yourself that you
Lilia Kokolyanko, that you've done something and it's not in vain. Let it be. Let it be something small at first, but it's an action for the benefit of your health. And as my experience shows, everyone sees some profit, some benefit. Well, definitely everyone.
Marina Bahinska. That's why they don't want to train and eat well.
Lilia Kokolenko, well, eating well is a bit more complicated. Because working out, well, that's 3 hours a week. You know, it's manageable. But nutrition requires more discipline, more understanding of why you need it. So nutrition is always a bit more challenging.
Marina Bahinska. But if you look at it, 3 hours a week is so little.
Yes, there is
Marina Bahinska. It sounds like so little, just 3 hours a week.
Lilia Kokolenko, to find your own way to do this is not, well, it would be good to find them for yourself. At least go for a walk. I'm not saying it has to be a gym right away. You know, if a person has been sitting all their life, well, let them go for a walk in the park in the evening.
Marina Baginska trains at home.
Lilia Kokolenko. She trains at home. Any movement at all. If she sits at work for 8 hours, then getting up and moving for 5 minutes every hour will have some effect. There are just some small steps to start with.
Marina Bahinska, I have another question. And if you train, how not to harm yourself? There are different kinds of training. How can you train so that your back or, say, joints, knee don't hurt? So how to train like this? And what guidelines are there? What should people who are going to train pay attention to?
Lilia Kokolenko. Actually, training in the gym, they are not inherently injurious. If you look at the statistics, the injuries in some sports games and in the gym are, well, vastly different. It is very unlikely to get injured in the gym that often. But someone could have done nothing their whole life, for example, and their bones and their joints, they are used to this way of life. And then the person comes to the gym, begins to push themselves, perhaps not in the measured way it would be advisable. And then, well, various issues will start to surface. And it doesn't mean that it's because of the gym. It was hidden, but the exertion will make itself felt.
Lilia Kokolenko. Yes, and it will just be such a manifestation.
Marina Bahinska. And what level of intensity should one start with?
Lilia Kokolenko, it would be great if you haven't been involved with the gym at all. It's worth starting with a coach because this person can objectively calculate the load you need, what you are ready for, so it doesn't cause injuries or an unwillingness to go to the next workout because it was too hard.
Marina Bahinska. Do you not need to go to the gym with a trainer every day?
If you have time, you can go. If a person sits 5 days a week and doesn't move, going to the gym every day isn't bad. Strength exercises maybe aren't necessary every day, but walking on a treadmill for movement, for example, stretching on a mat in some corner, well, that's great. It's much better than strength exercises.
At least 3 times a week would be great.
I'm leading to the point that strength exercises aren't necessary every day. Recovery and time for stretching are needed.
Stretching, walking, things like that, that would be great. Just find time between workouts.
There is also a stereotype that a trainer gives people, I meant to say patients, the same workouts, constantly the same for everyone. The trainer, for example, learned the system and gives the same workout to each person. Is this true or not?
Well, look, lunges, for example, you will do them just like someone else. But for everyone to come and do the same thing, no, everyone will have their own request. It will be different, but the exercises are the same. Only the set of those exercises and their sequence will be mixed. Possibly, an exercise may be chosen as one where you will progress, if it aligns with your goal. But for everyone to do exactly the same thing, no. Yes, well, the trainers in our club don't do that.
Okay. Is there a difference between a woman and a man? The approach to a woman and a man?
Yes, there is. A woman is like that, more emotional. Each day, a different day of the cycle can be a little different. And I always ask at the beginning of the training how the person feels, for example. And based on that, we might adjust the training so we won't do as large a volume as we had. And men are more stable. the likelihood that they will show up and have something wrong with their mood or well-being is a bit lower than it would be for women.
Understood. And do you consider critical days if someone comes to train?
Well, if a person feels comfortable training during critical days, then that's okay. Critical days are not a contraindication for training, but maybe the training will be less intense. There are girls who do not feel any discomfort at all on these days. Obviously, for them, they may not even need to clarify with me, but usually it's like this. We reduce the intensity, or we focus on, for example, the back. We don't touch their body and perform some exercises for the upper body.
Understood. And is there a request now a little less of this for those like bodybuilders, large, bulky, to come train with you personally? Is there such a request from girls and guys?
No, I think, when a person has such a request, they will go to another person, right? Yes. Each person attracts their own clients. It's obvious that people will choose you for some reason that resonates with them. So, no, I don't have such cases. Everyone comes to me for health, yes, for good shape, but such global sports goals.
But there are those who desire this. How do you, as a trainer, view this?
I have nothing against it. It is good, but any professional sport. Well, yes. If we're talking about such an intention, then it's already professional sports with increased risks and increased workload. This might not actually be about health anymore.
I see. And people come to you more for health in that direction.
Yes. I have quite conscious clients in terms of health.
That's true. What else do you recommend? We've talked about exercise, about food. How important is it? What else is important for a person to be healthy?
Radena Risina. I would consider the overall lifestyle. Nutrition and training are great. But if a person, for example, is constantly stressed or doesn't get enough sleep, then it won't have the same effect as it could. It would be great to build such a daily routine, to have your own schedule, somehow protect yourself from stress or learn to calm yourself, maybe meditate. And when everything is gathered in a complex way, from daily routines to exercises and nutrition, then that will have the best effect.
Weronika Tsigankova, is there a difference between a person who is well rested coming to training or, for example, has not slept enough or had a tough day? Can you see how their performance is in training?
Radena Risina, yes, definitely. Sleep is always very indicative. Remember how you slept little and now I know you started sleeping a bit more. Tell me, isn't that a completely different state?
No.
Radena Risina, completely different. And what can you expect from someone in training who slept for 4 hours? And it's not just a one-time thing, but constant, for example. Well, obviously, productivity will be much lower.
Weronika Tsigankova, I can speak for myself that I even recently said that over the course of a year, from how I was before to now, I've undergone a lot of transformations, and I no longer understand how I could live the way I used to live. Not sleeping, not eating, not paying attention to what you eat, not constantly engaging in physical activity, not just the gym, but overall constant activity, as it all adds to the resources for life, for mood, for new actions. And so I don't even know how it was possible to live like that before.
Radena Risina, absolutely. But we get very accustomed to our background state. A person has already gotten used to it. I sleep so much, eat so much, and feel this way. You could say that something hurts or that I'm very exhausted, but we just forget what to compare it with. When we start sleeping well, eating properly, and having that regular activity everyone talks about, we'll understand that our well-being before and after is like two different people. It's not just like that.
Radena Risina, these are global changes.
Weronika Tsigankova, and also emotions. Emotions, they drastically affect our lives. Even background emotions constantly influence us too. Because the gym is not about forcing myself to come, but it's about a background mode of life that you have. And so if the emotions are negative, then you force yourself to do something. But if the emotions are constantly positive, then you go to the gym well, you go there well. Well, it varies. But in most cases, that's how it is.
Radena Risina, it's more about, building your own routine that will help you stay afloat in different situations. Life won't always be great, but if you have your own sphere of influence, your nutrition is your area of influence, your workouts, whether to go or not, that's your area of influence. When you have things over which you have control and you do it because you understand it's for your benefit, then it will help you more resiliently get through some possibly stressful, possibly negative, but life is not always wonderful, but there will be something that is surely stable. And this stability, it will help, it will assist you. It will give such strength.
And this. Veronika Tsigankova. This is already great. Just for this one.
You know what I remembered? There's this funny thing, like when a trainer walks around and a person goes up to the trainer, they talk. And they say something about all this, and then the trainer thinks, oh, the client didn't come to me. What happened in his life with this and that situation? Is there such a thing when you work with clients constantly and get used to them? Do you think about such things? For example, they came, but how did that situation turn out for them?
Definitely, I write in such cases already. Many of my clients have been coming to me for quite a while. They are already, maybe it's wrong to say, but they are a bit more to me than just clients. I know a lot about what's going on. Maybe not everything, but I know the main things. That's why I worry. I care about them. It's quite normal, I think.
It's very normal. That's when you feel that the person hasn't just worked with you, but has become a part of you. Today they might understand your situation. It's like a kind of release. I would say the trainer is a bit of a psychologist too.
Well, honestly, who else do you see 3 times a week for an hour besides me?
Whom? The employees at work.
Yes, it's cool when the coach is someone who, at the very least, doesn't make things worse. Yes, cool.
Doesn't judge. We listen but do not judge.
Yes, well, maybe. Let it be so, but it definitely has to be someone you feel comfortable with, to whom you can say, today I can't, or today I can do more.
But probably it shows. Today it may or may not.
It's obvious. Can you see?
It's clear, but, well, as well, it's nice when the person also feels it. They tell you, explain, and then you can help more.
From experience, are morning workouts or evening workouts better?
It depends on what works better for the person. There's no 100% way to do it. It's great when you feel a surge of energy at that moment. I know that after a work day, you're already quite exhausted. From what I've seen, your morning workouts are more productive. But to each their own. Some people get more active by the evening and can be more productive. It's quite individual. It's worth trying both options.
And then you will decide.
And do people go during lunch?
Yes, but it's quite an unpopular time because it's such a break in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They go out, they walk, but still to a lesser extent, lesser.
Mostly in the morning or evening, do people come in such influxes?
Yes.
Because in the morning you wake up in the gym. It seems to me you wake up, but when you come, there's activity, and you wake up, and by the time you get to work, you're full of strength and energy, because this waking up, this stage of adaptation, happens in the gym. This may be good or it may not be good.
Some feel good while others do not. It's very individual. Someone has done a workout and already understands that it won't get harder. They can live this life. For example, some find it easier in the evening, they sleep better. Some tell me that it helps them fall asleep better, but it's different for everyone.
I had such a case where I was running late. Well, I was almost there. I was already nearing the gym and saw that I had very little time left. And I called, should I go to the gym or not? When you said to me, of course, go. What would you do at this time if you didn't go? And this phrase struck me because I thought, really, what would I spend this half hour on? Instagram? To some call? Not to myself, to something related. And so now, when I have a question of whether to do something or not, when it's critical, I think, what would I spend this time on? And you need to choose yourself. If you choose yourself and go to the gym, then you are spending time on yourself. If you don't choose this time and go somewhere, sit down, you'll spend it on Instagram and various things that are related to you, but not on yourself.
Yes, any workout is better than none, even if it's 15 minutes of some exercise. Well, that's definitely great, better than just lying on the couch.
If it's also simple, it is simple. We talked about very simple things. Why do so many people have excess body weight?
Well, it is not that easy actually.
No, it's simple. We talked and that's it. Everything is clear, count, jot down, come, and that's it. Sleep and think well, positive emotions.
It sounds like it's not that complicated.
And as soon as you start doing all this,
Yes.
yes, it's not that easy. It would be great if there was someone who would be a mentor for you in this. Some kind of support. It could be a coach. Maybe it will be someone if you work with nutrition, an online nutritionist support. But this will be someone who can guide you. Then the path will be a little easier. But still, the main responsibility is on the person. She must understand the value and importance of what she's doing. And then it's easy. Not easy.
That's true.
But she will do it.
Sounds like it, but to get there, speaking for myself, I'm still on my way. I've been going for a year already. There are positive changes, but I still haven't reached what I wanted, still in the process. Although it sounds very simple. Going to bed at 10 in the evening. But how many of our viewers actually go to bed at 10 in the evening?
100%? No. And it's not always some important work or duties. Very often it's just scrolling through the Instagram feed.
Actually, when people tell me I can't go to bed earlier or I don't have time to exercise, I always tell them to review their screen time. Know how much time do they spend on Instagram, for example. Well,
And it's big.
the question is dismissed. Yes, definitely significant. And it is such a purposeless, wasted time when it could have been directed for one's benefit.
Yes. And do you think a little more? 5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes and then suddenly an hour has passed.
Is there a timing? Can I set it for myself? I have restrictions set.
I set myself a limit on that. Why? And sometimes I remove this limit and another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes. And these 15 minutes go by so quickly.
And I think to myself, like, well, I need to take some new idea. I need to see what's new here, everything. And it all just pulls you in.
Do you have any other, well, yours can still be justified by the fact that you will.
I take the idea.
Yes, you choose ideas, draw some inspiration. Most people, well, they just waste time aimlessly.
You need to, so everyone should probably have some goal, a dream.
Yes.
Achievements both in sports and in everything else. And then there will be results.
Priority, I would say. Everyone should prioritize their health and well-being. And then you won't want to waste so much time.
And also, do your clients come to the gym on their own, or do you make them tell them, I call, you missed training today, shaksatain, and things like that? Do they come on their own, or are they conscious enough to come by themselves?
Actually, I don't remember a single time. There are probably clients whom I can remind, for example, but to force them, no, I don't force anyone. Everyone comes voluntarily, understanding why they need it. But once a person has come to the gym, they have already realized something for themselves. They have already gotten there. That's already a very important step, because forcing someone to start from scratch, just remember how long you wanted your mom to start working out, but until the person comes to it themselves, well, you can try to force them or not.
She started training. We'll see how long this will last. There's also an important point here. Many have taken the step, started, the motivation is great, I'll look so good, I'll take photos in these outfits. Everything will be wonderful for me, the body will be perfect, and you work, but it's not all that perfect. The result is not very visible, and sometimes a person stops, the motivation fades. There is no discipline to do it constantly, and it fades, and that's why they give it up, and everything goes back to how it was.
Motivation is generally a very unreliable thing, and it's not worth relying on it in the long term. One should simply realize and make some conclusions for themselves. And if a person understands that they want to do this,
having postponed it for so many years, and they live a life that might not be exactly what they want. If she has already realized this, then she should rely on discipline, not motivation.
Yes, this is most important in all matters. Results are there when you do it consistently, and not a little of this, a little of that, a little of that. In the end, there's no result. But another has a result because he spent a lot of time in one direction, in what he wanted.
And maybe it wasn't always perfect. Maybe
it was not perfect.
There wasn't. You just need to take one action and trust the process.
So, even training sessions are not all perfect. There are times when you really want to train and times when you cannot lift anything at all. And sometimes a person trains with one weight, but the next time they don't have the strength for that weight and have to change to something lighter.
With women, it's like that sometimes.
Does it happen?
Yes, it happens. It happens that this, again, could be about the lack of sleep. A person slept poorly today, they have less energy. Well, obviously it could be another day of the cycle, and again, there will be less energy.
Progress is not something linear. It can be like that. Yes, it can be like steps. Sometimes they go down. But if you just keep doing something, well, you will get results.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for such a good, for such an inspiring conversation. When you talk about it, you understand that you are living this life correctly. You want to achieve something. And firstly, it's health.
Definitely. A person who is beautiful is not always healthy, but a healthy person is always beautiful. That is why we need to focus on our well-being. And appearance is just a secondary benefit.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Yuzko Studio, for giving the opportunity to record such a great podcast. Write, comment. We are interested in your thoughts. Remember that we are all different, individual, and want to be better.
Definitely. Thank you for the invitation. It was a very pleasant conversation.
Thank you. See you.